In February 2020, Elon Musk reportedly rallied his workers at the South Texas factory where SpaceX is building Starship at 1 o'clock in the morning. The SpaceX CEO wanted to know why the factory wasn't running at all hours of the night. Musk has always wanted to move fast. It is evident in how quickly he wants to build Starships, designed to be a fully reusable launch vehicle that will be the largest object to ever fly.
This is I think, the most inspiring thing that I've ever seen.
When the Starship spacecraft is stacked on top of the Super Heavy booster, it will tower over NASA's monster Saturn V that sent astronauts to the moon, with roughly twice its thrust and weight. Anyone standing beside Starship would look pretty small, as I found out.
You can hardly see me right now unless we zoom in really close.
Musk has said SpaceX intends to build one Starship a week, and eventually one every 3 days. To put that into perspective, it can take years to build a single rocket. Boeing spent about 5 years constructing just one core stage of NASA's latest launch vehicle in development, the SLS. So why does SpaceX need so many Starships? Musk believes his vision of colonizing Mars requires a fleet of 1,000 ships. Building one every 3 days would produce about 100 a year, allowing SpaceX to reach its goal in a decade. The 1,000-strong fleet, each capable of carrying 100 people, could transport 100,000 settlers or 100 megatons of cargo to Mars in the first year. SpaceX wouldn't make trips to Mars every year, however. It would only launch the fleet when the orbits of Earth and Mars are closest to each other in order to shorten the trip, which happens roughly every 2 years. Still, it's a 34 million mile, 55 million kilometer trek that takes about 6 months one way. The goal of SpaceX is to send 1 million people to Mars by 2050. Musk is confident that moving there will be similar to the cost of selling a home in the United States. He pegs a round-trip ticket at $500,000 one day, and even less in the future. Relying on ticket sales alone won't pay for that many Starships, which is why SpaceX is creating a satellite internet service for Earth called Starlink. Musk has predicted the broadband internet system could bring in as much as $50 billion a year. The Falcon 9 has been responsible for launching the satellites. It's no Starship because it's not fully reusable, but it is a step in that direction since it can be partially reused. The booster lands, gets turned around in a few months, and takes off again, though that's still not good enough for Musk.
I wouldn't call that rapid by aircraft standards.
On the other hand, Starship is intended to be turned around as fast as today's passenger planes, with minimal maintenance and refueling before it takes off again.
This is the fundamental holy grail breakthrough needed for access to space. To make humanity a true spacefaring civilization, we must have a fully and rapidly reusable rocket.
That includes a fully and rapidly reusable booster that kicks Starship into orbit, separates, and returns to Earth within minutes. The booster is only required to escape Earth's deep gravity well, so it's not needed on Mars. One idea is to catch the Super Heavy with the launch tower arm, a bold and still untested strategy, before putting it back into service as much as 12 times a day. We have yet to see the booster in action. Only prototypes of the spacecraft have flown on their own, but that could soon change. SpaceX has asked regulators to approve its first orbital flight test of the Starship and Super Heavy together, and the combination could also take off from an ocean spaceport in 2022. SpaceX purchased a couple of oil rigs, intending to transform them into floating Starship platforms. They're named Deimos and Phobos, after the 2 Martian moons, given the ambitions of the company. The aim is to send an uncrewed flight to the Red Planet in 2024, with humans potentially traveling there for the first time in 2026. SpaceX is also working to turn Starship into a lunar lander to send astronauts back to the moon. Before any of these achievements, Musk is bracing for production hell. He survived it with Tesla in 2017 and 2018, toiling over how to build cars faster, spending nights sleeping at his factory, before ultimately overcoming the manufacturing nightmare to deliver nearly 500,000 vehicles in 2020. What the entrepreneur is doing with cars, he wants to do with rockets. Musk claims an assembly line of reusable Starships would drive down the cost of a launch to $2 million, aspirationally, compared to the estimated $2 billion per launch of the non-reusable SLS. Reducing the cost of spaceflight is necessary if life were to ever be multiplanetary. For Musk, a city on Mars is not only an insurance policy against a potential catastrophe on Earth. For him, it's much more than that.
Do we want to have a future that is inspiring and exciting? A future where we are a spacefaring civilization and out there among the stars? I think that's
Every kid gets excited about that. You don't even need to teach them.
Shooting for the stars begins with a plan to rapidly churn out Starships here in South Texas, which has aptly been named Starbase. Starship is designed to fly 2 or 3 times a day and could also transport people from point to point on Earth. SpaceX says a trip from Sydney to London would be just 51 minutes. If that becomes a reality, it would drastically reshape our concept of saving time. There's another way to save time in your everyday life. Imagine if you could mail letters or ship packages without the hassle of going to the post office, while also getting discounted rates. That could be a game changer, especially if you've got a business or a side hustle Etsy shop sending out orders. With my sponsor, Stamps.com, you can print out postage online from home for any letter, package, class of mail, anywhere you want to send it. Once your mail is ready, simply drop it off or schedule a pickup. Stamps.com offers discounts of up to 40% off post office rates and up to 66% off UPS shipping rates. So stop wasting time going to the post office and go to Stamps.com instead. Use my promo code NEWSTHINK to get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale. There are no long-term commitments or contracts. Once you head to Stamps.com, click on the top right of the homepage by the microphone and enter my code NEWSTHINK. The details are in my description. For NewsThink, I'm Cindy Palm.